Welcome into Scoops with Danny Mac on Fox 2. I'm Dan McLaughlin. Tonight, we're talking about the latest on the Rams situation playing out in court with Ben Frederickson of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. The Cardinals had a memorable 17-game winning streak. We saw the first year of Nolan Arenado wearing the birds on the bat, and another spot in postseason play. The plays of 2021 will be later in the show. Also, in about a month, the Cardinals fantasy camp will take place in Jupiter, Florida. We'll take you behind the scenes of what a Cardinals fantasy camp is all about. Ricky Horton will be my guest. Let's start the show, though, with the move of the Rams, a move that is now playing out in a court of law. Covering this day in and day out is Ben Frederickson of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. And Ben, always great to see you. Thanks for being part of the show. You have been all over what is happening right now with the Rams and this lawsuit that is taking place. So first and foremost, try to explain to fans out there what is happening right now with this lawsuit.
Well, it's preparing for trial, Dan. That's where things are headed. This is heading toward a January trial in St. Louis that basically puts the NFL, the Rams, all of the league owners on trial for the relocation guidelines. Do they matter? A jury is going to get to decide. Now, off on the sidelines, there's plenty of discussion about what a potential settlement could and should look like if one comes. At this time, there's no real discussion of that. There might be some rumored reports and speculation, but as of right now, the folks on the St. Louis side have heard nothing about a settlement. So that's going to be a popular topic, but right now it's all systems go toward a trial.
So what happens next?
Well, there's still some little fights that have to play out before that trial can happen. A jury has to be selected first and foremost. There's also some lawyers being lawyers, I would say, going on in this case. There's a continued fight over the NFL, certain owners handing over their financial documents so punitive damages can be requested. That continues to play out, and a few owners are on the bad side of Circuit Court Judge Christopher McGraw because they did not meet his deadline. So they've been told they need to get those in, and they're actually going to have to pay some penalties as well as some lawyers' fees for missing his deadline to hand those documents over. There's also an attempt right now to get Bob Blitz disqualified from the case because they want to call him as a witness. I think that's bogus. I don't think it's going to work. They've waited far too long to try to bring that. This has been a years-long process. I don't think that will work. And there's also a Hail Mary still left trying to get a venue change. I don't think that's going to work either. I think this is going to be headed toward trial, and right now the main focus that should get the most attention is the preparation for that in January.
Why do you say that?
Because I think there's a lot of speculative conversation about settlements, about things that could derail the case. If the case was going to be derailed, it would have been derailed by now. There would have been a successful attempt to steer this toward arbitration. There would have been a successful attempt to get this moved out of the area. This is going to happen in St. Louis in January unless there is some big settlement offered that the region decides to accept, and I don't think an expansion team would be a part of that.
And that's what people, I think, want to know about. Could an expansion team be on the table? But you don't feel that that's the case.
I don't think so at this point for a few different reasons. One, just because the NFL has done that in the past doesn't mean they're going to do it again here. And two, there are a lot of unanswered questions that would have to be answered before that could even be a possibility, and I don't know that it is one. Who owns the team? Where does it play? What businesses want to get back in bed with the NFL? One thing to keep in mind is the region made a pretty concerted effort to pivot toward Major League Soccer once the NFL decided to pick up its team and move. A lot of people have spent a lot of money on that effort. A lot of businesses have focused their efforts on that. I don't know that so many would be rushing back to welcome the NFL when the NFL made it very clear how it feels about the region.
How do you think this is going to play out on the national scale of things? The fact that this is starting to get some national attention.
Well, it's nice to see some folks finally paying attention to it, right? I mean, we've been beating the drum now for years, and it finally seems like, okay, there's going to have to be some discussion of this nationally. So you take some of it with a grain of salt, but it's good to see that they're having a harder time ignoring it. It is becoming a bigger issue for the league. Remember where the Super Bowl is going to be played this year, in Los Angeles at SoFi Stadium, right around the same time this trial will be happening here in St. Louis. The timing is pretty ironic if you step back and think about it, and it's good to see some folks paying attention to it. My prediction is not a sexy one. I think this goes to trial. I think St. Louis wins. I think the NFL immediately appeals, and then it's going to take a while to sort out if that appeal could claw back whatever St. Louis won, and I don't know that it's a guarantee that it would. I think St. Louis has a really good case here.
How about this, in terms of damages, what do you think the city could get back?
big. I mean, billions of dollars are being pursued here, and that's not including punitive damages, which could be tacked on top of that. This is not an example of, hey, St. Louis just wants the $18 million it spent back trying to keep the team. I think if that was the case, then the NFL probably would be willing to just write the check and close the book and move on. But that's not what was lost here. You know, the forward-looking value of having the team, the everything from the hotel tax that was missed out on in St. Louis County by the league breaking its relocation guidelines, and that's what this case is about. It's not an antitrust issue. It's not some big, scary, hard-to-prove case that takes millions of dollars and tons of experts. It's a simple contract case. The relocation guidelines in Missouri constitute a contract. The Rams and the league broke it, and there are all these issues, evidence of fraud, of the big words that for non-lawyers are scary to pronounce, like tortuous, malfeasance, and all these different claims but it really boils down to they lied. They knew they were lying. They lied anyway. They have guidelines. They pointed to them as important. They broke them and did so while misleading a third-party beneficiary, which is the region. And their claim that host cities are not can't view that relocation guideline as a contract. It does not hold up with Missouri law.
How about this? The nervousness of Stan Kroenke, Jerry Jones, Roger Goodell, and others as this is unfolding, and what could take place in the next few months for them?
Well, the amount of infighting and the potential for it in the league is pretty sizable, I think. There's been a lot of discussion about this indemnification agreement that Stan Kroenke has signed. Now, I've not read it, and I don't want to claim to know it because I just know one exists. But whether or not he's on the hook for just the legal fees in this case, or he could potentially be on the hook for all of the legal fallout from the case, all of the damages. So you can imagine that what he wants might be different than what some owners who are more detached from the money could be. Also, Goodell is going to be at the middle of this. I'm sure there are owners who are saying, let's pay this and let's get this to go away. We didn't want the Rams to move in the first place. And what comes out about the league during this trial is going to be interesting. We already know some of it. I mean, some of these depositions, a lot of them have been done, Dan. They're in the can, as lawyers like to say. They include Jerry Jones saying he never once read the relocation guidelines. He didn't give a care about them, and that he never even had them read to him. Meanwhile, Roger Goodell, under oath, testifying that the relocation guidelines are critical to the league and that you have to work to help host cities keep their teams. I mean, put those two against each other. Put Kevin Demoff's comments publicly versus privately that have come out in some of his emails in front of a jury. And this thing is pretty damning already. And there's probably some things we haven't heard yet teased in the hearings leading up to the trial, too.
And finally, just your personal opinion. What do you think happens?
I think they get a lot of money. And I think the NFL fights it tooth and nail toward the very end, as it has this whole time, and probably appeals it and exhausts its chances of appeal. But this is not some big federal case that they have more power over. This is a Missouri case, and so far every attempt they've had is lost. I think St. Louis is going to get a big old check, some sort of money, and then more money for damages. Hopefully, fingers crossed, they'll put that money to good use. I don't think it results in an expansion team. That's what I think. What I know, what I feel. My opinion is that they shouldn't want an expansion team. And I love football, man. I played it. It's a great sport. I've learned a lot of who I am is because I played football. But when you see what an organization is run by and what these people value and what they don't, I have a hard time saying St. Louis should try, even if it gets the rare opportunity, an unlikely opportunity to get back in bed with these guys. I'd say no, move on. Go make soccer a hit. Worry about the Cardinals and the Blues and whatever comes else for this region, because the NFL, close the door and move on, and be the city that makes things better for other cities when they're threatened with these kind of relocation threats. It's okay to know that you can support the team but not want it back.
Ben, great to see you. Thanks.
You too, Dan. Anytime.
Coming up, we'll take you to Jupiter, Florida, and inside the Cardinals fantasy camp that is coming up next month. And that is next on Scoops with Danny Mac here on Fox 2. Scoops with Danny Mac is brought to you by Schnucks, Lou Fuse, Royal Banks of Missouri, and Ryan Kelly, the home loan expert. They are living out their dreams. Men and women, all ages. Every January, head to Jupiter for Cardinals Fantasy Camp. Rubbing elbows, playing with, and learning from Cardinals legends.
Oh, this is dream week for me. It's funny, as soon as I back out of my driveway to get over, I start laughing. And the stories that come out of here, and the camaraderie, and getting to know everybody, and where else can you walk into a room and have two newly elected Hall of Famers, come in with you and look around, and there's 6 or 7 other Hall of Famers, and 32 other legends that have won all kinds of World Series and all kinds of great accolades. That the Cardinals are it. They are the best, and nobody does it better, and you just always look forward to it.
Steve and Andrew Roseborough followed through with a promise to their late father, Dennis. His dying wish was to have his boys bring his cutout to fantasy camp. He wanted to again share a fantasy camp one more time with his sons. So they brought his cutout to camp. And incredibly, unbelievably, his son was the only one to hit a home run during that camp. It's the games, the autographs, it's the camaraderie, and it's a chance to have the camp in Jupiter, at Busch, or even in Cooperstown.
It'll be the best experience of your life. It takes you back in time. You're going to a little small community that has never changed. No fast food, just nice little places to eat, and it's a fun baseball experience. So if you've never been to Cooperstown, this is a great way to experience it.
Well, it's baseball heaven within itself, and you haven't even stepped on the field yet. So going to Cooperstown with all the tradition, small New York City, a little tiny village sitting on a lake. I mean, the ambiance is amazing. We're playing at Doubleday Field, where they've had a number of old-timers games and legends play the game. Just the tradition, just the idea of getting to play as well. On top of that, with a Cardinal manager and a Cardinal legend in your lineup, I don't know where you could go for a better place to have a good time.
Imagine learning from the wizard. Seeing the Hall of Famers explain how they did their craft up close. Personalized instruction on what made them great. But most of all, the fun. The fun of being around the game. This is Cardinals Fantasy Camp, one of the great experiences that is put on by the organization every single season. Truly, a one-of-a-kind baseball experience. It is pretty amazing, and they call him, by the way, the commissioner of the fantasy camp, and that is my broadcast partner, Rick Horton. Sometimes I call him something else. I won't do that here. He is my good buddy. How you doing, Rick?
Well, I assume you mean Ricky, but you're lucky I don't make you call me Mr. Commissioner. Honestly, that role that I have for the fantasy camp, which Danny, I talk about, I love it. I love it. I love it. The term commissioner implies a lot of power that I don't really have. But honestly, whatever it takes to get me to that camp, that's what I get excited about.
For fans that go down there, men and women alike, how would you describe it? What is it like?
Well, it's almost impossible to describe it fully because it's such an immersion camp. So all the preconceived notions that it's just about baseball, and it is about baseball, but it's about developing friends and connecting, which is one of my favorite words, connecting to the Cardinal community of the past. And, the great Hall of Famers always come down to be with us. And of course, that's a special part for all of us, including ex-players who weren't Hall of Famers. But it has a great Cardinal feel, but it has a great kind of just personal feel too. You get immersed in being a Cardinal during the camp. I mean, you get the uniform, you get the locker, you get to feel a little bit what it's like to be a Cardinal for that time. And of course, there's games and evening programming. And I think what campers always come away with, Dan, is the idea that I can't believe that I sat down and I actually had lunch with Ozzie Smith today, and we talked about life. I mean, those kind of moments are really special.
And then from the baseball perspective, you are learning from Ozzie Smith, from Bruce Sutter, from Larry Walker, from Rick Horton. The list goes on and on. That part of it is just incredible to me, to see the interaction between the campers, the Hall of Famers, Cardinal Hall of Famers, so on and so forth. That is what's really, really cool about it.
What's fun about that, we call it Hall of Fame instruction. And we'll have little stations that go around. And again, you're going to hear about relief pitching in the bullpen from Bruce Sutter, and maybe the likes of, in the past, Lee Smith and Jason Isringhausen and so many more, a great Cardinal relievers. So you're going to be in that spot. You're going to learn outfield play from somebody like Larry Walker, who was one of the best defensive outfielders of all time. And you do rotations, and you go to Ozzie at shortstop, and you go to home plate, and maybe it's Lance Berkman and Ted Simmons, one of our other new Hall of Famers, and you hear about hitting, and you go to the dugout, and you get conversations from Whitey Herzog about how to manage a club. I mean, it is just spectacular. What's fun about those is the other former players, again, the non-Hall of Famers, and I'm clearly in that boat, we love to go watch that too, just to listen to them. And I kind of purposely just hang around just to watch Ozzie do his thing at shortstop and to hear from all these great Cardinals. I mean, it is a top-notch situation, and I know it's one of the things. It's one of the highlights, I would say, of the camp week when players get a chance to be that close, and the campers get a chance to be that close with the Hall of Famers.
And finally, Ricky, it doesn't matter how good or how bad you are, how old you are. It doesn't matter. They're going to give you a uniform. You can go out there and everybody embarrasses themselves. So it doesn't matter.
I remember a guy named, I think his last name was McLaughlin. I'm not sure about his first name, but I remember actually
this interview, I think, short.
Watching, we got to get this in. Watching him, actually, you got a base hit to right field, Dan, as I love to talk about. Of course, you hit it off the end of the bat. It wasn't, the exit velocity left a lot to be desired, but
analytics was not good.
But let me say, but I think your question is so important for this camp. We have had people from up to the age of, I believe the oldest camper was 78. Now that's, not everybody's 78 that's there, but it's a wide variety of ages and certainly of athletic ability. You don't have to play it in high school. You don't have to play it in college, but you kind of have to, if you love baseball and you love the Cardinals, it's the place to be. And so I really do think that that's an important question for people to understand, regardless of ability. We'd love to have you at the fantasy camp.
Up next, it's a look at the Cardinals' plays of the year in 2021. Scoops with Danny Mac here on Fox 2. Scoops with Danny Mac is brought to you by Blue Tail Medical Group, On the Run, Delta Dental, Hair Saloon for Men, and Lordo's Diamonds. Welcome back to the show. Despite the major news of the departure of former Cardinals manager Mike Shildt this past week, there were more highs this season, especially at the end of the year, than lows. It was a fun baseball season. The Cardinals finished the year with another postseason appearance and racked up 90 wins. Let's take a look at the St. Louis Cardinals' plays of the year for 2021. Arenado, a drive, deep left, at the wall, an opening day home run. Into center, Bader diving, comes up with it. What a catch, Harrison Bader. It's at the wall, grand slammer.
Yadier has now caught in his 2000th game for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Goldschmidt with a home run. There it goes. He crushes one at the wall. Gone. Lars Nootbaar. And that's 24 straight saves to begin the career of Alex Reyes with a historic save here at Busch. Bader hammers it. Out to left. Nootbaar back and has it. Lars Nootbaar with the catch. Arenado racing after it. Oh, he got it. Oh, what a play. Nolan being Nolan. O'Neill back. He caught it. Tyler O'Neill with the catch up against the wall, and the Cardinals win it. Nootbaar hits it right side. Base hit. The Cardinals win it. The strikeout for John Lester, and win number 200 in the career of John Lester. Diving catch, Tommy Edman, all over the diamond in 2021. Sosa, diving catch, what a play. A strikeout, and he strikes out the side, and he shuts down the Atlanta Braves today. It's at the wall, gone! Goalie wins it. Molina pulls it fair. Back-to-back games. The Cardinals walk it off. It's a sweep of the Marlins. Deep left. Carlson. He got it. Dylan Carlson with the catch. Out to left. It is gone. He did it. 9 in a row for St. Louis. 10 consecutive wins. Count them up. 11 straight. He got him! And it's lucky number 13. Back to back. Friday night fun at Wrigley. It's unbelievable! Unbelievable! Bader hits it out to deep left. Late inning magic again! Waino again showing bunt, gets it down. Here comes Bader. He will score, and the game is tied 2-2. Rondon hits it down the left field line. Gone! It's gone! Lined into center. There's Bader. Has it! 17 consecutive wins. The run of 21. And now the St. Louis Cardinals are postseason bound. It was another exciting ride in 2021, especially at the end of the year with a historic 17-game winning streak. For Ricky Horton, Ben Frederickson, I'm Dan McLaughlin, and we'll see you next week on Scoops with Danny Mac here on Fox 2.